What's good, everybody? Welcome to The Real Deal, a Real Madrid podcast with me, Jarod Hector, and I'm joined by Siddharth Ramsundar. Sid, I know last time we were on the show, you were like, the music is not hitting. It's always hitting for me, but today I feel like it's not hitting in the sense that I'm like walking into the arena feeling like I'm about to go dominate somebody. It's hitting more like I'm feeling buoyed. There's some optimism. I'm feeling light, and I'm anticipating. I'm in an anticipatory mood of what this team is going to look like as we move forward through the summer and get into next season. How about you?
I'm honestly just looking at the irony of Paris winning. It was a bad final. I guess like I'm anticipating finals that we're in that are more fun than that. So definitely
Sid's got a level of PSG hate right now, and so I'm going to balance out that hate. I don't have PSG love. I just think it's important that we kind of get into that, and we will. But first, Sid, some quick news and notes about Real Madrid. So first thing, they mentioned Antonio Rüdiger, Club World Cup. He's going to potentially try to play. He's going to work his way back, is try to play as much as possible, and then an extension. And the first thing I thought about that was like, hey, I hope the team is cautious about giving him an extension, right? Much like they gave Militao the extension and he tore the ACL again. Rüdiger's got another year left on his deal. My point is, we don't have to be in a rush to give him a 2-year extension right now. I know why the club is doing it, because they want to reward him. And I believe in that. I do, because how you treat players, Sid, players talk and they'll be like, oh, this club is good. They came off the injury. They secured my future or whatever. And they'll also be like, this club is full of crap. They talk a good game about us being a family, and they don't actually treat you that way. So it is important that the club take care of him. I just feel like we don't need to rush and do it right now. Like we can chill a little bit.
Yeah, no, we don't want to rush and do it now. It's a little bit like we just did this with Militao. Look at the situation we're in. I'm not sure exactly why we're in a rush to do it. It's just weird, especially like I think it's just because we believe in him physically, and also because he has less miles on his legs. I think when you just look at Rüdiger, we were very lucky. We got him at a time where, like, there's some players, Jarod, where their market value is not that high when they're in their 20s because they're not projecting to be that great. Then they end up developing into like this bona fide world-class player. And then all of a sudden, in your like back half of your career, your market value is suddenly unusually high. I think they're hedging with that with Rüdiger. They're like, hey, you had like very little miles on your legs before you came here. You like sacrificed yourself while you're here. We're willing to bet you recover. I don't know why, but like if it's not an ACL or an Achilles, Jarod, I'm just not as worried. You could have all the reporting in the world. Like there's certain words that scare me. I haven't got there with Rüdiger yet.
ACL and Achilles are the ones that scare you, which as they should, because those are, even though modern medicine has advanced so much, and we've seen in the basketball parlance, right? Kevin Durant came back from an Achilles tendon and was still all NBA, and like, right? But like, there's a reason why he's the exception and not the rule. We don't have a chapter and verse of a million people to go back to and say, oh, look, they're still awesome and elite, right? We'll see what Tatum looks like when he's back, again, using NBA. But to your point, I hear that. And it's not ACL. It's just sort of it is meniscus and some other issues and things to be wary of. But I think you're right. The club feels like we're betting on him physically. And let's be fair about this. Not this past season that just concluded, but the season before when we won the double. You could argue Rüdiger was, if not number one, top 3 center backs in the world during that season. Like, he was incredible.
Absolutely. Rüdiger is one of the best. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about it, but definitely should be cautious. 100%.
Yeah, with you 100%. The Alvaro Carreras deal, I know, Sid, a lot of Madrid fans are getting nervous that why isn't he signed yet? What's going on? And I get it, right? Like, you get these names get put out there and everybody gets excited, right? Trent's a done deal. Dean's a done deal. You're like, come on. In many ways, it's like the rule of threes. We thought it'd be in threes. Like, this should be the third one. And we have this all wrapped up and it's not yet. And, you know, what I honestly think it is that the club, Real Madrid, is it's the money, right? They want to pay the price they want to pay. And they're hoping that Benfica is willing to meet them on that price and not want the full asking transfer fee, which, by the way, he is a Man U academy product. And that matters because Man U gets, I want to say 50% of the transfer fee over 5 million. So Man U has a vested interest in this being as much money as possible. So I get it. I would just say, Real Madrid fans, don't worry. Like I feel comfortable in the fact that it will probably get done. Benfica, I think, Benfica and Real Madrid will meet in the middle. I think so. This is a good time as we get into one of the other things we're going to talk about too, is to bring up that all of this stuff is about getting the best deal for yourself, right? Madrid wants to pay its number, Benfica wants its number, and Carreras' agent wants his number for the eventual contract, right? Everybody wants what's in their best interest. And oftentimes in this world, right, where capital is involved, it often becomes zero sum, right? Someone wins and everybody else loses, right? It's sort of how we're all often been taught how these deals work. But in reality, what will actually end up happening is I think the minds will come together and a number will be agreed upon that makes all parties, if not ecstatic, everybody's comfortable in that feeling. Okay, I feel like I got something, but I had to give, but so did everybody else, right? That's the deal. Nobody wants to feel like I didn't get anything and I had to give everything, right? If that situation occurs, then deals don't happen, right? So I think when everybody feels they made something and they were able to give something up and relative to whatever they earn, then everybody's going to be comfortable. So I think it's just a matter of time and that all working out. You're on mute.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we're very careful with the agents. This always seemed like a deal that would go down to the wire a little because they want more money for him. And even if you route it through Man United and Man United buy him back, everybody wants their slice of the pie, it sounds like. So, yeah, it sounds like either Man United get more or Benfica. If anything, it's probably like a battle between those teams to see who can get more. And then Real's like, we'll go with whoever gives us the better deal.
Right.
And that's where we're at. And it's just while we're on the note of agents and arbitrage and fees, sounds like we've suddenly made contact with Franco's agents again.
Yeah, that was an issue that was stirred up. So Fabrizio Romano reported it that there was an issue between Real Madrid's higher ups, right? So like the higher people who make decisions. So Florentino, Juan Angel Sanchez, and Juni Calafat, and Franco's agents. And again, to that point, Franco Mastantuano's agents want the best number for them, right? Because the bigger the deal that he signs, the more money he makes as an agent. That's just common sense, right? And Madrid, again, has their dollar sign and their number, whatever it is, and they don't want to go above that. So this is the push-pull. And now they've made contact again because PSG has seemingly been like, and this is what I fear, Sid, and this is sort of the larger overall point of this episode, is PSG with its oil-backed state, they can be like, whatever, you want 60 mil, we'll give you the 60. Hell, we'll go up to 70. And PSG is willing to go to a number that Madrid won't go to, right? And so this is the fear now that we have a club that is not only good because they just won the Champions League and they have a sporting direction right now, that is also an attractive place to play, and they have all the resources. They're like, look, if Madrid doesn't want to give you the extra 20 million, we will. And let's be honest, people, who is going to reject $20 million? Almost nobody, unless it is for sure a given that they just love the club so much, right? Now, we know that Dean Howson has always dreamed about Real Madrid and loves Real Madrid so much. That's fair, but we don't know that's true about Franco Mastantuano. We have no idea. We've heard rumors or things coming out about that, but we haven't heard from him directly saying this is the club I want and does it, right? And ultimately, this is also part of the thing too, Sid, is that as Madridistas and Madrid fans, we can't be out here like thinking that, oh, our magic dust of Madridismo, everybody wants it because who doesn't want to be part of this club? Yeah, we feel that way, right? But that doesn't mean that these other players feel that way. Like, because to many players, they could be like, yeah, I know Real Madrid's history, but Real Madrid in many players' minds is no different than Liverpool, is no different than Man City, is no different than PSG, is no different than Bayern, right? Like, I'll be the man at any top whatever club, and I don't really care once I'm getting mine. So I think that's an important piece to play, and I think that's why the club is looking for players who want to be here, who are like, no, being at this club with this badge matters more.
Yeah, and that's where the rumor was that Franco's agents or whatever fell out with our whoever was negotiating. I don't know. The rumor is that like they pissed off Jose Angelo Sanchez, and for some reason, like in that moment, we perceived it as you don't really want to play for us if that's how you're negotiating, and they decided not to go for him. But I'm just paying attention to what happens from the outside. We don't really control it, but it sounds like a case where they maybe also thought that maybe they thought Franco did want to play for them and that he was bluffing like a game of poker. Could have been something like that. And could be one or the other. Listen, we need a left-footed right winger. If we get him, we get him. If we don't, we don't. We will talk about how PSG compete with us for players like that. Someone asked in the comments, you guys see the picture of Rüdiger. I'll just throw it out here. Just found it online. Rüdiger with Hierro. So Antonio Rüdiger hanging out. I mean, hey, if he wants to go to Al Nassr in a couple of years, like maybe we're giving him an extension and then he leaves after.
Yeah.
Maybe the extension is to preempt like a big sale to Saudi. I mean, we're fine with that. I don't know what's happening over at Al Nassr. It's a lot of shakeup.
A lot of shakeup happening over there. Look, I think one, he was on vacation and spent some time out there in the UAE. So I wouldn't take too much of this. We're in this world now, Sid, where a picture of somebody in a different country or whatever, that means it's like, it could just mean that like they're there and they're hanging out. Like, not necessarily where there's smoke, there's fire. Again, I think the club's priority, first of all, he's under contract. So he's got one more year here. So it's not like he's not going anywhere. Like he's got to at least finish out this year. Now, Madrid won't want him to go on free, which is why I think they are thinking about this extension, right? And rightfully so. I think he will get it. It's just make sure that the numbers fall in line with whatever the club wants to do. But yeah, Franco Mastantuano is interesting. And I think, honestly, Sid, really quick, back to Alvaro Carreras. People were asking about Jarell Hato, like, is he in play if we don't get Carreras? And the reason why I don't think Hato's in play is because he doesn't have a fixed transfer fee. And any player that doesn't have a fixed transfer fee, that means that the bidding or the price for that could get out of control, right? Like if your transfer fee is 50 million, it's 50 million. It can't go higher. It just is what it is, right? But without one, they could ask for a lot more in Endive, right? Like who knows? So I think that's a reason why stuff is cooled around him. Not because I don't think Madrid thinks he's a good player. It's just that with the lack of a clear transfer fee, it could be a lot of money, and I don't think Madrid want to go down that road without, by the way, selling someone that's already on the team. And I think that plays a large part about what we're doing right now too, Sid, is that I don't know if it's been decided yet if Rodrigo is going to be sold to another club. I think they're still waiting on that conversation between him and Xabi Alonso, which to my knowledge has not taken place yet.
Yeah, definitely. Also, on the note of extensions and movement, like, would you extend him?
I mean, listen, the GOAT, you got all that money. Yes, I would for that league for sure extend him because I want him to score his 1,000th goal with me so that I get all the whatever marketing benefits off that. So yes, that's a no-brainer to me. But
you know what I think is happening? I think because over in Miami, there's another player who's not extending. It sounds like. I feel like I was just talking to someone. You got to let them play in the same league one more time. Like, if you're Ronaldo or Messi, like, why would you end your career in different leagues when, like, Ronaldo should score his 1,000th goal in the league that Messi's playing in while they're still like fighting for the same trophy? Like, it would just be too fun. And hey, I know he's looking to come play in the Club World Cup. I know he's talking to Mexican teams or whatever is the rumor. It's funny. Maybe, hey, and you know what he could do? He could join Al Ittihad and team up with Kareem again.
That's true. That's true, right? Get 2/3 of BBC back together.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was just it's just funny. The reporting funny. Around Ronaldo is always just funny. It's just every headline around him is funny. It's amazing.
I know, because he's bigger than, in many ways, he's bigger than the game, right? Like he's just this larger than life, like global figure, which I get. Sid, Nico Paz, I know that was a big story that the rumors are the club's considering triggering the buyback clause. I want to say it's 8 million. It's either 6 or 8. I think 8 maybe. Which is not a high number. But Nico, Sid, wants assurances that I'm just not coming here and I'm going to be sitting on the pine, because if that's the case, I'd rather stay in Como and keep developing. And I honestly think he's right. If he's just going to come back here and not play, then what are we doing? Like, my philosophy on this, Sid. And I think Xabi Alonso will do this as well, because he rotated a ton at Bayern. And as I said, if Real Madrid want to be dominant, forget about winning the treble, but to have long-term success in terms of Champions League, the only way we're going to do that is by legitimately fielding an A and a B squad. And I think Nico can be, for sure, that Jude spot on that B squad, right? And so if he can get those kind of assurances, yeah. But do you think Xabi can give him assurances that he's going to be a legitimate part of the project?
I think Xavi's going to be persuasive because he's going to be like, I'm going to give everyone minutes. I don't know what those conversations look like. And also just whenever you're in a squad as deep as ours, or you're like being marked down as a player who will be there in place of Jude, there's just a risk that when Jude comes back, your season's over. I think that's the concern for him. It's like, all right, like you guys want me, but as soon as that surgery is over and he's back in the game, do you really want me, or do you just want me until that moment? And
right.
I don't think he wants to come here for 1 year and then realize he can't stay here. That could be, at that point, he might just want to stay at Como for a second year and then decide again if we really want him, because he's probably just looking at it selfishly in a good way. And like you, as a player, you have to do that. As a club, you have to be selfish and try and get players who deserve 2,000 minutes to play 1,000 minutes on a bench role. Like it goes both ways. And, I think it's a bit of shrewdness too on his part. It's the same thing Florian Wirtz did, right? Why we were never going to get him, because he's like, I'm not coming like there. Even if they sign me for 100 million, I might end up like James Rodriguez. Like, to be honest, that was the big risk for Wirtz, like another James situation. So, and Nico probably sees it the same way. He's like, why would you want me? Like you, if best case scenario, I'll be like Brahim Diaz on your team. What do you want? Like, I don't want to be Brahim Diaz.
Agreed. No, you're dead on. And that's the point, right? It's how many minutes can he legitimately get, right? That's the goal. I mean, Brahim played 2,169 minutes this year. So that's a good amount, right? Like if he can get that kind of guarantee that I'll get those kind of minutes, that's great. And honestly, that's good for Jude, right? If Nico's playing that many minutes, that means Jude is not. So in the most important moments and most important times of the season, Champions League knockout semis and finals, he's not gassed. I got tons of energy, right? So listen, again, I think if Xabi's smart, I think, and the club, because it's not just him, the club and the players have to buy into this is how we're going to do things. Like, and if anybody is balking at that, then it's not going to work, right? Because once you start limiting minutes and you have little grumblings happening in the dressing room, people start leaking out to their media, this is the last thing you want. Disaster central is coming because then the team is fractured. So there has to be total buy-in from the top. So Florentino and the board and all of them, Xabi and his coaching staff and all the players, which include the starters and the superstars, have to agree to that. If none of them agree, or if any one person's out on it, it's just not going to work. And it's going to be a bad situation. So I get it. Nico's being smart here. Yeah,
totally. And I guess while we're here, the last thing we want to talk about is Abdallah, right?
Abdallah Hussein. And I think what's so interesting about him, Sid, is that I think his name came up mainly as a tool. So let me be clear about something. I think Madrid has scouted him, and I think they think very highly of him and would love to sign him. But I also think the timing of releasing this is interesting, right? Because it happens as the Franco Mastantuono talks seem to be going in another direction. So in many ways, it was a signal to Franco's agents, like, look, man, if you want to go to PSG, cool, no problem. We got this kid who we think will be excellent. Their profiles aren't exactly the same, but from what this scouting report says on him, he's excellent. He's an Ajax Academy product. His strengths are ball striking, free kicks, set pieces, through balls, weight pass, passing range, long passing, crossing. And the highlights that I've watched him, he has very good vision, extremely elite passing, and he's very strong on set pieces. Can never have enough of that. He's press resistant, which God knows we need as many of those as possible. He seems to be an ideal 8, right? Like that seems to be like what he is. So look, if that's the case, and again, I think Madrid is very interested in him. I just think they're like, oh, Franco and his agents are dicking around and not being upfront with us. Let's leak this out here that we're looking at Abdallah Ozal as well, which again, I think it's true. I think the timing of it is to let Franco's and his agents know you ain't the only fish in the sea. We got other people we're looking at too.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting take. Some people say that like he might just be someone who's on the team. Also, I don't want this to get taken down, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna stop there.
Oh, you mean yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it goes, but I'm just gonna stop for now. I gotta learn more about it. But hey, I mean, if we can do that, I'll get Twitter's videos on this all day. But he looks good. Like I don't know if that's why we want to go for him. It could be legit too. I mean, we also just proactively go after guys. Like
well, that's what I mean. I think in a vacuum, this is a player we would for sure go after. So I don't. Again, I think Madrid is very interested in Abdallah. Full stop. But I think the timing of when it got released to the media is related to the Franco back and forth as agents. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, if Franco didn't exist, we'd be interested in this guy 100%. I just think it's like, okay, let's leak it now that we're interested in this 16-year-old. That's all.
One guy in the comments said he's from Morocco, and let me tell you, this guy is the next main guy for us. MVP from the last AFCON under 17.
Yes, he's been incredible. Now we all know that the list is littered, right, Sid, with elite 16 and 17-year-olds that never pan out at the senior level. So let's not lose our minds, but it looks like he is the real deal and the goods. And the idea is he would sign and go straight to Castilla, like immediately. And then how he performed there, which, by the way, really quick, I think it's important that Javi's friend is the new head of Castilla, because I think there's going to be some synergy between the two. And I think we're going to see a lot more connection between Castilla and the senior team this season. Javi's on that 3-year deal. And in many ways, right, Carlo was kind of like a placeholder coach in transition, right? It just happened that he won 2 Champions Leagues during that time, which is not normal when you're transitioning, but we did what we did. But I think there's a clear sporting vision now with Javi as the guy for 3 years, with his friend as the head of Castilla, right? I just think there's going to be a lot more synergy between the youth rank and the senior team, and some connection. We'll see a lot of guys get opportunities. I mean, look, we already know that Jesus Fortea is heading to the States with the A team during the Club World Cup. So he's going to get some minutes. How many? I don't know. But so that's already happening, right? So I think there's already going to be that going on. So I think that's interesting and that's exciting. And yeah, as Sid, as you mentioned, right? Like the Franco Masantuano news, PSG is for sure, they put their foot on the gas, and this is a great way for us to transition into sort of their elite, that they're just amazing, perfect season, that they're trouble winning season. But this is the kind of player, right, Franco, who we as Real Madrid would get almost easily every summer, fall, winter with little competition, right? We'd always beat out Barca or even City for these kinds of players, right? But now we have a new player in PSG, and Sid, not only are they the reigning Champions League winners, they are an elite project. They have all the money in the world. I can attest, as I've been there multiple times, you're a young, rich dude. There aren't many better cities in the world to live in than Paris. So it has all the trappings that you'd want. And to be clear, an elite coach in Luis Enrique and an elite sporting director and sporting vision. So let's dive into PSG's perfect season, Sid, and how they did it. Yeah, let's start there. Your overall thoughts on how they did it this season.
Well, like you alluded, I think it's a long time coming, because I go back to Fabian Ruiz and Luis Campos when they got him. It's funny because Kylian's getting blamed so much, but when he was there, he's just like, he wanted to see changes. And when he was signing those extensions, he asked for changes at the club that they implemented years ago that were even before this season. Like, this is many years coming. And they've been trying for so long. Like, you got to give them some credit. Even when they had Neymar and Mbappe, the stars, they were trying to put Di Maria's. They saw Pablo Sarabia have a good season. They're like, let's bring him on as a bench player. And then he fails at PSG. They've been trying things. And then sometime in the 2020s, they upgrade their recruiting. They go get a young Hakimi. They go get a young...
From us.
Yep. Yeah. They get Hakimi from us. They go get Luis Ocampos, who we were looking at. They go get Fabian Ruiz, who we wanted. And from there, they also competed with us directly for Tchouaméni and Camavinga, because Mbappe specifically requested it as well. And it's ultimately, listen, we know who the good guys coming out of France are. Everybody does. Why are you letting Real Madrid go get the Camavinga and the Tchouaméni? That was the question Mbappe was asking them. And listen, at some point they got Nuno Mendes and we did. Like, for example, we were stuck with Ferland Mendy. And,
Nuno's so good.
Yeah, I mean, just like the similarity even in the last name, like you can't help but just think like, oh man, what do we got going on here?
Yeah, we got the French version, the Portuguese guy, way better. We should have gotten that dude.
Yeah, and at some point, they have the Warrens there, Emery's there.
Oh my God, and he didn't even feature that much. And Bradley Barcola, who's elite, and it taps into, Sid, I think something that you and I are very keen on, which is the minutes distribution. And I pulled up all competitions this season, Real Madrid and PSG, and I put them side by side. And Real Madrid, Sid, have 3 players essentially. 4, more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my God. 7 players who played 4,000 or more minutes in all competitions. That is a ton. Conversely, PSG, 2 players who played 4,000 more minutes. The minutes, and there's the graphic up there for you guys to see who are watching it on YouTube, the minutes distribution. And again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but this ability to literally field, and look, I know that Ligue 1 is a little bit of an easier league, so they can do that. But look, it is what it is, right? Like, Prem fans will tell you how La Liga is so easy, and that's why Real Madrid wins all its Champions League titles too, right? So everybody's a farmers league. Who's not in it, right? Whatever. It's professional football. Deal with whatever the situation is. But my point is that PSG's minutes distribution, because of their depth, look how deep they go, right? They can literally field a second team, and that's why in that final they ran ruckshot all over Inter, who average age much older. So to be fair, PSG's average age is like 23 or 24. They're super young, right? And Inter's is like almost 30. So that's a problem, right? Just younger legs run faster. I don't know what to tell you, right? It just is what it is. And because they could rotate, they were so much fresher. And also their style of play demands that, right? The way Lucho demands you get the ball back out of possession. You cannot go gung-ho that hard all season long. You're going to burn out. Hello, see Barcelona and Hansi Flick, right? Like, it's just what it is. But they're able to rotate. They're able to show their depth off. And that, to me, Sid, is something that Real Madrid is going to try to do this season, is have this coming season. I don't know is this the end of one season, beginning of whatever? As we go in the next season, figure out, can we do this PSG model where we spread out our minutes? Because we should never, Sid, have this again, where we have 7 players over 4,000 minutes in all competition. That should never happen again.
Yeah, and I can't figure out if they're more OKC or Indiana Pacers, but they're a little bit of both. In just like, they're gonna run you off, like they're gonna run as hard as you, if not harder than you. I'd say OKC in the sense that like it's a bunch of talented guys, but you're not getting on the floor if you don't play defense.
Not 100%, you will not see the floor.
Right, and it's kind of scary that that's how the game's going. Because that means the teams that have more money will always be at a huge advantage. It's just hard. And I mean, that's why we're always so stingy here on, like, with all our signings. It's like, hey, like, we have to get more bang for our buck or we will lose long term. Because if it comes down to like who can sign, like who knows who the good players are, they're gonna beat us. If we don't make a better signing value for money wise every time, we're screwed. And that's why we've also been stingy for so long. That's why honestly, we're stingy so we could take Mbappe from them, because we don't want to let a team like that have him. And that's where I kind of like Usman's quote, going back to that. Like, he was so humble, because Twitter is full of people, or just everywhere. All circles are full of people making fun of Mbappe. But Usman was really like took the higher ground when he said that he thought there would be an even stronger team with Mbappe this year. And I guess we'll get into the whole, let's save that for the next
segment. We'll get into that later. Yeah.
But that was beautiful football. I just want to say it was awesome. It was positionless. It was like when Hakimi's up front, Dembele moves to the right back zone. They're rotating.
Sid, that was my favorite part watching it. Dembele would be on the right, in the center, on the left. But whenever a player moved from outside of where their stated position was on the lineup card, someone rotated and filled that spot, right? Like, there was a synchronicity and a harmony, which was missing with us, right? Yeah, our guys have freedom. And that's the thing, right? So there's this kind of saying that, like, oh, if you play possession-based football, you don't have freedom. PSG proved that's not true, right? Their front six extremely interchangeable. You see Dembele on the right, in the center, on the left. It's just that if you vacate and go somewhere else, that means someone else has to fill that gap, right? Unlike us, where we'll have 17 people on the left-hand side, and it's like, guys, what are we doing? It's like everyone's in this one clustered small space. What's happening over here on the right-hand side? Nothing. We have the whole side. We, in many ways, Sid, like when our creativity at times this year, we shrunk the field on ourselves and made ourselves easier to defend because everybody was in the same spot. It's like, well, what are we doing here, right? Whereas that's not what PSG did in this matchup, and that's not what they've done all season. I was really impressed with how they looked. And honestly, yes, he's one of the rare people that played for both Real Madrid and Barcelona, and obviously he won in trouble with Barcelona, so we have feelings about that. But Lucho's an elite coach. Like, he's an elite tactician. And you can make fun of him for the whole thing where he's telling Kylian Mbappe about how to defend better. You could argue he could, phrase that differently, but there's no mistaking that the collective defensive ability of the team is better because he's not there. For whatever reason, everyone else bought into what he didn't buy into. Now, you could say that's Lucho's fault for not, talking to him properly, whatever the situation may be. But he has this crew playing a much more connected style of football. I see Cake Eater saying, not overly worried about PSG. Honestly, they're a rival, but nothing unsurmountable if we're at the level we should be. I'd issue caution there, Sid, in that if we're at the level we should be, is doing a lot of work. It's going to take us a lot of work to be at the level we should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I just want to say that's it's an interesting data point because this is the second, it's the second time that Enrique has coached a team of dribblers to a treble, like 2 trebles, first coach since Guardiola, I think. So, and, they both have pulled it off, like sandwiching our last Champions League win. So these coaches are onto something. I mean, that should be the proof. Like, we win, we don't win every year. The years we don't win, it's coaches like these who win. And, the Barcelona team had a very low passes per defensive action, still one of the lowest of all time. I'm pretty sure if you look at pressing metrics, they're very good. And even if maybe not absolutely good relative to era, they were great. And just like PSG did relative to this era, they run as hard as any team in this era. So essentially what happens is it's 2 teams that have these tricky players that he gets to run hard. They don't really lean on a striker. I think that's the best part.
Yeah, they don't
have a guy who heads the ball. They don't cross it to a guy who heads the ball. They win ball on the ground. And that's where Enrique, he's always been the closest thing to Guardiola. Like, there are so many Guardiola disciples that don't get anywhere near him. And to be honest, when it doesn't work for Enrique, it looks ugly because he's a little more defensive oriented, as we see. He really emphasizes the off ball, winning the ball back. On the ball, it's not meant to be pretty with him. The idea with him is like, we're always going to decide who plays with the ball when. Like, we control so many things during the game that eventually, like, you will break. And they can run so hard when they lose it. So you don't get any time to breathe.
Yeah.
It's just cool to see the same principle work 10 years apart, like 2015 and now 25. It is also cool to see, just like as a fan of coaching, because he was derided with Spain. He did a good job the first time around.
You did.
The second time around against Morocco, had a bad time against Hakimi. And what do you think as far as like, I think I saw a really good tweet actually I want to highlight.
Sure.
I'll just read it out. I reposted it. But this guy on Twitter, Trunks, he said something about how like football is all right. Twitter's not loading, of course. Like, well,
as per usual.
I'll just tell you from memory. But like, I think Enrique is, because when we win, we tend to thump our chest and be like, hey, our style is better. Enrique's boring, positional. Like, I do that as a meme. Like, I do that for fun because it is fun to be like, yes, we beat you, boring Pep. But like, we know that's not real. Like, any style of play, whether it's like totally scripted top to bottom or totally unscripted, it works as long as it meets thresholds of like execution.
Correct.
And usually, no matter what, they execute defensively. They always execute defensively. Like, fine, offense is scripted or not, I don't care.
Right.
Defensively, they execute, whether that's like because they listen on offense and the rest defense when you lose the ball is there, or because they just run back hard. They don't play coordinated, but they all run hard. It's one or the other, and we saw that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, it was sort of epitomized when the game was done and dusted. It was 4-0, and Kvaratskhelia is like sprinting back to win the ball back late in the second half. Most people would be like, bro, game's already over. What do you like? Who cares? Like, no, like it's an ethos, right? It is built like to your point about how OKC, if you don't play D, you're not going to be on the floor. Like it's because Enrique demands that. Like you're not going to play if you're not giving max effort in these moments. And I think again, that is the piece that we were missing this year, right? Like Jude runs hard and Fede runs hard, but 2 out of 10, that's not enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not good enough. Everybody's got to be on board with that, right? And because what happens is it forces those two to make up for everybody else's lack of effort, right? And it burns them out, which we see 2 years in a row, you know? So I think it's huge. To me, what's fascinating, Sid, is Enrique in a hypothetical, or even just like tactically a matchup, Enrique and Alonso in a tactical head-to-head. I think they share similarities in that they both want control, right? That's a common coach thing. Carlo is funny. He's very antithetical to coaches in that way, that he doesn't care about being in control. That's like, which is very odd, right? Most coaches are control freaks in everything, and they want control all the time. Carlo, that wasn't high on his list, right? He's very rare in that way. And in many ways, that's what makes him the perfect antidote after having a super control freak, because you feel like, oh, I can breathe again, right? That's why he's successful in so many ways. But I think Lucho might be a little bit more rigid, whereas I think Javi would be a little bit more pragmatic and more willing to say, okay, we're going to press now or work hard for this 5-minute segment. Outside of that, we're going to set up in a mid block instead or whatever. Right? I think he might be more versatile. What do you think about versatility in terms of coaching?
For me, it's very clear. I know I just went and praised Enrique, but like, look at who they have, dude. Like, and I think that's where Enrique is very good, but I do want to roll back a little bit of what I said in that it's so easy to be that good when you have that type of squad, frankly. Like, you got to give some credit to the players. He did optimize them defensively, but a lot of coaches would kill for that squad he has right now. Like, Arteta outcoached him over 2 legs pretty clearly. You could say if Trent's healthy that maybe even the Liverpool tie goes differently, even though PSG outplayed them. I'm not wrong from what I remember. Checked this a couple times. I just don't know if my memory is deceiving me. Trent went down when Liverpool were about to turn it on and kind of try and equalize and like change the tie. And he goes down, and instead we're going to extra time and we're going to penalties. Like, it's not the same tie anymore. So I would say Enrique is a good coach, but Alonso is more adaptable for me, higher ceiling, because Enrique is a little rigid. And I think Arteta outcoached him. Like, that's a good example. Like, that tie is an example of what PSG can't do, which is if you take away their ability to play the ball, which Arsenal is the only team that could do that, even though Donnarumma could not play it out of the back, because the rest of the team on PSG is ridiculous. It's really, really good. So when the team is so stacked and able to keep the ball everywhere, like, you know, you're playing against a 36-year-old like Mkhitaryan in the final.
Yep.
It's not a fair fight. And that's where, as great as PSG were, like, look at how much money they've spent. And people were like making so much fun of Mbappe. Like, dude, this team they signed Ramos, Colomani, and then sold him. Like,
they did sell Colomani, yeah. Or did they loan him? Was he sold or loaned?
Regardless, it's just like, how many teams are in a financial fair play situation where they're allowed to like register players and go on? Like, Barcelona is like not allowed to register players when they go do all that. But PSG is all a free run. All their sponsorships are free. It's not a fair game. So
yeah.
It was a perfect season though. They are absolutely a threat to Champions League dominance for all the reasons we just laid out. Like, because it's not a fair game, they're going to be a problem for a long time. I don't see how. I just don't. And I think they're scarier than City because they've figured out how to corner certain markets. They figured out like, hey, we can go get the French guys from Paris and it's over. Like, PSG, Man City aren't even as scary for me because they're so centered around a coach. PSG for me are not centered on Enrique. Enrique was a cultural change, like the stimulus for them to become this. That's been happening. But even after him, I just feel like they've put systems in place now.
I agree 100%. I want to address FG's tweet. He's like, he's really upset about this. FG, we realized that video of Lucho talking to Mbappe is rage bait, and no one actually watched the documentary. He's saying, Fabrizio even tweeted Lucho post-game comments praising Mbappe's defensive work. PSG should have went to the final last year. They hit the post 8 times. All that's true. I think what is still also true is that Mbappe is not a consistent, or 2 things. He's not a consistent defender and he's not a good defender. I think both of those things are true, right? Yes, he defended better in that one game, but he does not do it consistently. And, we have plenty of tape and film from this year alone from Real Madrid. Now, so you can argue that's Carlo's fault, variety of things, and I'll agree with you there. But there's factual moments in this season where Mbappe loses the ball and is out there walking around, when the other team is literally blowing right by him. And that, to me, is unacceptable. I'm not asking him to be the world's greatest presser or like none of that sort of thing, but his effort level has got to be better out of possession. And I think Xabi will get him to do that.
So we got to talk about this now, Jarod. Right after the game, a couple guys, Twitter's still down, but Bill Simmons on Twitter, he was
Ewing Theory.
Yep. People, I think Bill Simmons said Kylian Mbappe, like, welcome.
He said welcome. He said welcome. It's the Mbappe theory. I think it's fair. Like, Sid, I'm going to go through the Ewing Theory definition for people who may not be familiar with what that is. Those of you who are NBA fans, you know who Patrick Ewing is. If you don't, let me tell you, Patrick Ewing is one of the greatest players of all time. Played the majority of his career for the New York Knicks. He played college ball at Georgetown. And Bill Simmons, back in, I want to say the early 2000s, he and his buddy came up with a theory. And the theory is basically based around, why was it that whenever Ewing missed time for Georgetown when he was in college, and for the Knicks, the team seemingly played better. So the Ewing theory: a star athlete receives an inordinate amount of media attention and fan interest, and yet his teams never win anything substantial with him, other than maybe some early playoff series. That same athlete leaves the team either by injury, trade, graduation, free agency, or retirement, and both the media and fans immediately write off the team the following season. And of course, that team ends up winning. So you can see the parallel here. Mbappe was on PSG last year. They lost in the semis, right? Last year of the Champions League. And this year they win it. So that's why that's the Ewing theory, right? Is the team better? Now, Kylian Mbappe arguably is the best player in the world, right? Like, you can easily make that argument. So in no realistic way is taking away the best player in the world from a team means the team is better. However, the thing about sports is, Sid, sports are not individual. They're teams. Individuals don't win Champions League, despite what we may think. Teams win Champions Leagues, right? Now, it may end up being, it was a 1-0 game, so whoever scored the goal was amazing, or Courtois was, sure, but there are other factors, right, that led to that game state, that allowed for the outcome to progress the way it did. And so this is the thing I argue about in the NBA all the time. When people want to argue who's better, they always use championships as a metric. And I say, people, you don't win championships by yourself. Teams, those are team awards. Teams win championships, not individuals. Individuals have roles to play, but not by themselves. No individual in any team sport does all of the heavy lifting or does all the lifting by themselves and no one else does anything else. That's not how it works. You can't. Not at this day and age and not at this level of sport. So, yes, I don't think it's quite the Ewing theory, but it is funny. And you do know that all the anti-Madrid media is going to be out there going nuts with this all summer long, and basically until Real Madrid win a Champions League with Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, no matter whether it's true or not, this is the narrative now. Like, you were there 7 years, you made a big deal of extending and not coming to us, and the first year you're here, they win. And unless you win 2 or 3 Champions Leagues here, they're just gonna look back on this whole situation and say, hey, like, the first year you were here, they got better without you. And I think it's more pointed because of all the comments Luis Enrique is making, like about Ousmane Dembele. You probably saw it. He's like, he sacrifices the mark of a leader, someone who sacrifices even without the ball. Ousmane did that. For me, that's why he wins the Ballon d'Or. I thought that was a very pointed quote. I feel like I mean, again, whether you believe, and I think there are actually strong arguments that there's like an element of this at play with Kylian Mbappe,
sure,
to talk about. But whether you believe it or not, like if the coach who won the title, like history's written by the winners, man. Like the coach who won the title is saying that, he's right. He won
100%. And there's also, Sid, players are human, okay? And they do a lot of what fans think that they should do oftentimes, because certain players, Sid, just have outsized gravity in just their personas and just who they are, right, as individuals. There is a way in which, and you saw it during the Euros last year with the France team, right? That France team is freaking really good. And how many times did I see them just be like, yo, Kylian, here, just almost forcing the ball to him every time. And it's like, is there a better way to do it than that? And constantly forcing him the ball? That's what I mean about individuals and teams, right? Like when you get into that mindset of where you're like, well, we have this guy, just keep giving him the ball. Like that's not a recipe for long-term sustained success. Again, teams matter. Yes, individuals and the greats, of course, have their role to play. Your CR7s, your Messis, you're right. Of course, we know this. Like, but teams matter, right? Like, what is our structure like? Because if there's going to constantly just give the ball to this guy, think about what we did with Vinny for most of this season, right? Or even last season. Just keep spamming him on the left wing. Vinny, take on 9 dudes and figure something out. That's not optimal for success, right? Like, and I think hopefully what we'll see with Javi is we're going to see a little bit more of a system and a more of a flow and more of an interplay, which I think is really critical to win at the highest level, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think with Mbappe, it's interesting because, like, I was talking to Ali and he was throwing some stats out about how Mbappe, I think, has one of the highest like per 90 goals and assist totals in the Champions League. If you look at XG and expected goals and assists, it's the same per 90. He's right there with anyone, with Ronaldo, Messi, even higher in some ways than a lot of these guys. But I feel like Ronaldo's like 30-goal Premier League seasons before he joined, where he played defense, were more valuable for the team than any year we've seen. Like Ronaldo's best Premier League year, 2007-8, the second last year.
Ballon d'Or, yeah.
He's had 1 year that good, like where he's been the number one option, carry the team where, okay, they force you the ball, but you lead the team somewhere and you also help the team on the other end. Like Ronaldo was playing defense. He was roaming to the right wing if he needed. And he was around the age Mbappe is now, where Mbappe's kind of said, I'm not doing that. Or I won't say that. Mbappe did play on the right when asked at points this season. But the idea is like, has Mbappe, like, has he just firstly, like, do you get the same output from him if he's playing defense? What are you getting? If he plays a little harder, are you getting that? I feel like you don't lose much from what I see on offense. I just feel like we see a kind of a player who's gotten kind of lethargic because he's just so used to a team serving him. And I see a lot of lethargy there. And that's where maybe there is a bit of the Ewing theory. Like he embodies all the worst aspects of the star that's referenced in Ewing theory. Like kind of plays for himself. He makes the team more predictable. Everything flows through him. And it's just weird, paradoxical with Kylian, because his numbers are just so ridiculously high. Like even by Ewing theory standards, like in basketball terms, he's like Shea or Embiid's like best scoring years. Like you can't look at that and say that's nothing. That's valuable.
No, I'm with you 100%. And I love that you went to a basketball comp because, in basketball, right? Like one person can dominate the ball and dominate possessions like Jokic does, like LeBron does, like all your elite alpha superstars do. But those players I particularly mentioned, LeBron and Nikola Jokic, right? Like peak LeBron, not so much as much now, but they elevate the team around them, right? With their ball dominance, right? Like they lift, their rising tide lifts all ship because of their pass first nature, right? Because their ability to see, right, what's happening. Cut here. I'm going to draw so much attention. I mean, the ideal superstar in basketball sense is Steph Curry, right? Because all of his gravity is about off ball, right? He isn't dominating in single high pick and roll all game. He gives the ball up and he's running around 9 million screens and it's causing the defense to freak the hell out. And what does it mean? Layup for Draymond, back screen for this dude. Like, and that is ideal, right? And so again, Kylian, you're such a feared threat. And I want to say you said on maybe not our last show, but the show before last. Make a run, but don't run for yourself. Run for us, right? It's the analogy I use again, which is Craig Popovich said the light bulb went off for Kawhi when he realized when I diagram a play, it's not for me to score, it's for us to score, right? That's the idea. So Kylian makes an off-ball run, and that drags, oh my God, the defense starts freaking out. Kylian, great. You're not worried about Vinny over here or Jude over here. Allow somebody else to do that, right? And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where like the theories, like a little bit of the on-ball stuff where all the runs are for him, and he's not like the primary like creator,
right?
That a Jokic or a Steph is,
or in basketball, or in football, a Lamine Yamal is. Right? He's a better creator. He just is.
He was. He is 100%, or even a Vinicius, frankly. Right. And so if you're not that creator, play off the ball. And so, yeah, you have a little bit of that, maybe Carmelo Anthony, like clear out, get me the ball.
Which is beautiful to watch. But what did Carmelo win? How did that work in service of a team game?
Yes, and you could call it Carmelo theory. It's funny enough. Also played in New York. He also played in New York, and then and so, or I would say, but yeah, regardless. And then there's the off-ball stuff. Like, are you going to score as much if you actually play defense? And I think we get our answer this coming year. Javi's had some really big quotes about how when he was a player, he would argue with the forwards to make him defend. How much we get it, we'll see. But I guess for now, it is fair to say, like, until you win a Champions League, like, it might be the Mbappe theory.
It's going to stick. Like, and again, I think you and I are both like, we don't necessarily agree with that, but it's going to stick. Perception becomes a reality. That is going to be the narrative until he shakes that off. And by he, I mean, he on this Real Madrid team wins the Champions League. And the other part about the theory that we didn't mention, Sid, was that he came to a team that just came off the double. We won the Champions League and the league the year before without him, right? So that's also why it's playing that way, right? Again, I'm not saying we 100% think the theory is that way. It's just the reality of what it is. And I see some like arguments going in the chat. Guys, we can all be friends here. When we're talking about individuals versus team, remember, I know our human brains want binaries. It's not an either or. We're not saying it's about team or it's about individual. It's a combination of both, right? Both things are true. Yes, a person like CR7 is critical, right? Because he's one of the, not one of, in my opinion, he is the greatest of all time, right? So of course he matters. Of course, right? You don't take away him and put a league average forward in his place, and we do the same type of things, right? You don't get the same kind of output. Of course, we know that. However, it's still about team, right? He did stuff in service of the team, and that's what we're asking about Mbappe, right? What do you do in service of the team? Everyone has to give a little bit of something in service of the team, right? For the team to be at its optimal best. Everyone's got to sacrifice a little bit. That's just how it works. If you want to be your optimal best, if this team wants to win trebles and go on a long, dominant run, right? If they want to do those things, everyone's got to give a little bit.
Some people say that he pressed more under Pochettino and or Tuchel when they tried making things work. I don't know.
Who suppressed more?
Mbappe. I can't say I can't say I've paid enough attention to know if he did that. But with that being said, I definitely think some of his metrics, like his goals up to this point in his career, will be looked back on as like a little empty calorie. I think that's just the reality. And yeah, like just referencing what I said earlier, Ronaldo's like 30-goal year with defense two-way at United probably beats like Mbappe's 50-goal one-way seasons. Like that's the point where you're almost wondering if like 10, 15, 20 goals need to be knocked off to like kind of see what the impact is like. Like, does that overshoot what he was really doing for the team? And it's paradoxical because like he's one of the best transition players ever, so he kind of molded the way the game is played around him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like everything up till like, and I think even this year they're gonna look back on like if he goes and wins a few, it's like, oh, that was just a warm-up year. But like the way this year the story will be told will only be decided based on how much he wins going forward.
Without question. I mean, look, I believe he won the European Golden Shoe this year, right? For most goals, and he won the Pichichi in La Liga, right? Okay. But what did we as a team accomplish with those goals? We finished second in the league by, I mean, we lost to Barca by what? 6, 8, something like that. somewhere in that range, whatever. We got knocked out of the quarters of the Champions League. We lost in the final of the Copa del Rey. Like, we lost in the final of the Super Cup. So again, a great individual season, but what did those individual stats do for the club's biggest moments?
Yeah, 100%. And a bit like almost like Ronaldo before the 3P and after. Like when he started scoring all the clutch goals, he cut the fat out of his game. He when he got the ball, he stopped doing as many step overs. Honestly, it's like he stopped doing the step overs. That was his version of maturity. And in Mbappe's case, it's tracking back. But yeah, and let's get to our last segment here.
One quick thing for Gokoya. Gokoya, we're not blaming Mbappe for this season. I want to be very clear. That's not what we're doing here. All we're saying is that for this team to ultimately be at its best, which I think all Real Madrid fans agree, if the signings happen the way we think and Xabi coaches the way we think, this is a treble level team. This is a team that could go on another historic Champions League run. But it's going to require a lot of sacrifice from everybody, right? Not just Jude and Fede. Everyone's got to chip in the parts of the game that they don't like, right? And that includes Mbappe being better out of possession. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, and the last comp I'll just use here, the reason why I think Mbappe will fight off and shake off the Ewing theory and make it Patrick Ewings again is Ronaldo, like 2016, he has one league title, one Champions League when Zidane comes here. Mm-hmm. We win titles. He accepts rest. He defends in the first Clasico. He's tracking Alba. I always mention tracking Alba. I don't know why nobody does. Like, everyone isn't mentioning that moment. Like, because that was such a big moment in my childhood as a fan where I'm like all the same problems. It's like history repeating itself now is what it feels like, Jarod. It doesn't, to me, feel that new. I'm like, okay, 10 years ago, I was wondering if I should continue supporting the team, because if they squandered all this and don't even win one Champions League with that Ronaldo era, I'm like, why would I enjoy this? Then they won a bunch. I'm like, okay, you don't need everything to be perfect. You can win. And I'm back there now. Like, Kylian is still going to have games where we look at the film and we're like just clawing our eyes out. We're like, what? I don't think that will change. But how often those games happen is going to go down a lot, is what I assume. I feel like that's what happened with Ronaldo. It went down. Also, Ronaldo enjoyed defending corners. People need to realize, like, he loved coming back and heading the ball away, and that's valuable. He was a set piece menace on both ends.
For sure.
Kylian is not that. You got to use your speed. Listen, you're not tall. You can't jump, man. So you're going to have to do the leg on the ground. You're going to have to do the water carrier work, unfortunately.
That's how, listen, everybody's got to give a little bit, man. That's how it works.
Yep, 100%. And so on that note, this is just like, this is just really funny because
Sid loves his parallels, his NBA parallels.
Well, everyone's like, listen, I'm a Laker fan. I'm a Kylian fan. I'm a Real Madrid fan. And everyone's giving these guys shit. And I think, to be honest, they're both in the same boat of, like, they just don't care about defense right now. And it's a problem. And like, and they don't care to the point where they don't notice how much it hurts their team, which is a serious problem. And I think they're both at a similar age. They're on a new team, crossroads in their career, and all the eyeballs are on them. And they were a big reason, you could argue at various points, that their team did not do better, even if not the only problem. In the Lakers and Real Madrid case, you could say the roster. Real Madrid case, definitely the coach. Lakers case, you could debate the coach, in my opinion, not as much. But it's really like comes down to Luka maybe needs to get more in shape, whereas Kylian is like it's not a shape thing, it's a mentality thing. But hey, they're both like this weird, like, offense first, like, play for myself, take any shot I want type of star.
Yeah. Look, and obviously, of course, everyone knows, right? I cover the NBA, so intimately familiar with Luka and like all of his, for all of his elite offensive work, his lack of caring on the other end of the floor. And that's ultimately what we're saying here about both of them, right? No one's asking Luka Doncic to become an all defensive caliber player, and no one's asking Kylian Mbappe to become a press menace who wins every ground. Nope, not what we're asking at all, because that's not what we need you to do. But you got to give a shit on that side, right? Like, you can't be a turnstile, right? Like, Stephen Curry is nobody's elite defender, but when they were winning titles, he was not a turnstile on defense, right? That's all. We ask you not to be a turnstile. Like, that's it. Like, you lose the ball, Mbappe, don't just stand there and let the guy run right by you. Give a little effort and try to win it back. That's all. A little bit. That allows your defense to get back into more shape, right? Instead of just waltzing right by you, and now they have a numerical advantage in one zone of the park, and now we're scrambling, right? Like, simple things like that. Like, that's it. That's all we're asking.
Someone in the comments said, when I watch Luka games, he looks like Messi when he just used to walk and people are running by him. That's a funny little comp over there. Like, if you were to choose who's more likely to fulfill their defensive potential, Jarod, between these two?
I mean, Luka only because of his size. I mean, he's fucking 6'8" and he's huge. Like, I mean, like, right? Like, on size alone, he should be a net neutral defender just because he's big as shit, right? Like that, just flat out. Like, he just should be better because he's big. So finding a way to use his size more to his advantage, and JJ scheming up things where he's not on quick twitch, super fast guards, like cross matches happen and whatever, but find a way to give some kind of resistance on those things. Like Kylian, I mean, you're small, but that's soccer. It's different sports. So body types are different. But to your point, Sid, you're fast as shit, bro. Use your speed, my guy. Just get in the way. Like, get in the way. Slow somebody up. Like, if he even just slowed up someone going by because he's so fast, that would have done wonders this year. Not even win the ball back. Just use his speed to get in front of somebody.
Well, that's why I think the path to Kylian becoming a neutral defender is much more straightforward. Literally, just move. Like,
just move. Just move.
Yeah, just literally, move. Like, if you choose to move, your body already has the bag and tools to go and move. Like, it can do that. But in Luka's case, yeah, I think it's a little more complex. Where like your basketball is a game of like, you don't want to let him get hunted all the time. Correct. Even if he's fit, teams are going to try and make you run.
Correct.
With Kylian, like, I think teams are going to try to do that too. And I think that's why he hates defending so much, because he sees teams like pretty much messing with him, toying with him. And he's like, you know what? I'm just waiting till we get it back. Like, you guys deal with this. Like,
fucking Odegaard called his ass out. He was like, yeah, we know those guys up front don't like to run back as much as they like to run forward. I'm like, bro, how you going to let Martin Odegaard call you out? Martin Odegaard, bro. Come on.
Right. Who, like, Odegaard literally can't beat anyone off the dribble. He can't do anything. Like, he's in there for his defense only, and you're letting him like cook you on the field and make fun of you, laugh you. It's like, whenever I would play sports, I would make fun of myself. I'm like, the only way I get anywhere is by playing cardio, like outrunning the guy, because I got no skill. But you let the cardio guy beat you.
The cardio guy cooking you right now, my guy. Come on.
I can't believe Odegaard's the cardio guy now. But that's what he is. I mean, like, compared to Kylian, that's what he is, right?
And the thing about it, I think I said it on a previous show we did, Sid, was, of course, Odegaard is nowhere near as talented as Kylian Mbappe. Like, they don't even deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence. But Odegaard sacrifices and gives for his team to be successful, right? His cardio and he gives of something for his team. Kylian, come on, my guy. We're just asking you, give a little, just a little bit.
Definitely. Now, another question, based on everything you've read and heard, obviously you think Luka's size-wise more likely to reach his potential.
Yeah.
But in terms of mindset, mentality, things you've heard about them, things you've read about them, chatter from executives, who's more likely to want to make the change? Who's got the bigger obstacle to actually making the change?
I'm going to say Kylian, because honestly, Sid, I'm not sure what his mindset is outside of goal scoring. I don't know. I don't know how, and I want to be very clear what I'm saying. I am not saying Kylian Mbappe is not competitive. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't know what his competitive level is. I know Luka's competitive level is off the motherfucking charts. That I know for a fact, right? From people I've talked to close to him, from just watching him, from everything I know. I just don't know that Kylian has that same compete level and care factor if it's outside of what's good for me. I don't know. He had the key being Kylian had the unfortunate, or I don't know if it's unfortunate, but winning a World Cup so young and then scoring a hat trick in the final. By the way, a final that they lost, by the way, people. I don't know if that was ultimately good for him, in that he got so much praise early. And I wonder if he didn't have enough of the get it through the mud stuff, And I just don't know. I don't know. Again, you never give back World Cups and whatever. And so in the one they won, what did he win? Best young player of the tournament, right? Because he was 19 then, right? If I'm not mistaken. I got to check back the stats. And then he won the. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And then he won the Golden Boot for the last World Cup, where he scored the hat trick in the final. I think, if memory serves me correctly. Someone in the chat knows. Look that up.
I believe he scored more last World Cup, and he was amazing both World Cups. It's true. The first one might have been too early for him, too much, and I feel like the second World Cup is where he does have the compete level. Like when you see what he did in the final,
he was amazing in that final,
right? And so I think he does have it for that reason. I also just think it's like, I think in both cases, like you said with Luka, he has it, and it's also a little bit out of his control. If you don't put a team around you, like teams can just make you play defense every possession. Like in basketball, like a striker can be cornered and made to play like a right back every possession.
Every possession,
right? And you don't want that. And so whereas with Kylian, like, dude, you already have guys trying to hide you. Just do a little bit for them so they can hide you.
Yeah, they're willing to. They all recognize that. Thank you, FG. Golden Boot for 2022 and Young Player 2018. That's what I thought. Yeah. I look again. I want to be clear. I think Kylian is elite. I would make the argument that he is the best player in the world. I could make that argument, and I would believe myself in my argument. All I'm asking for is just use those same skills to just give us a little bit so that we can hide you better on defense. Again, I'm not asking you to turn into the world's best whatever. Like, even like his press angles, right? Like, can you just learn to angle better when you do press? Little things, right? Little things like that, right? Will make all the difference in terms of the care and the compete factor out of possession. And I believe Jabi's the guy to get him to do it. And I do think PSG winning without him, no matter what. One thing I know about athletes, Sid, they all say, oh, we don't hear stuff, we don't read stuff. They're lying. They hear and read everything that gets said about them. And if they don't read it themselves, people in their camp give it to them and say, yo, did you see what they've said about you on this platform, this thing? So they are well aware, and he is well aware. And I'm thinking, and again, all athletes need is the littlest slight to get them to turn up. So I'm hoping this will get him to be like, oh, they think I'm shit. All right, let me show him. I'm hoping that lights a little fire under him.
And that's the biggest parallel between both of them. Like maybe before this happened, Luka was the one with the fire because he was traded by his old team and he also got embarrassed in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now, like Kylian, with the way we lost this year, I feel like it didn't reflect directly on him. Mm-hmm. Even if you might see it that way, I don't think it, like at the club, it was seen that way. And
right.
I don't think we see it that way.
No, like, we don't.
The coach was the biggest problem.
The coach, the roster, there were a million problems this season.
Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, like, at the same time, his 30-goal second half of the season or whatever is not as impressive until we see it in a better context. And more than anything, this win should light a fire on his ass too. So now both these guys, these Real Madrid affiliated stars, are both going to change. And I think a lot of the people on Barcelona or Laker haters, they really want to see them fail. I think that's the other thing. It's a lot of loud chatter because of the teams they play for. You probably got the same from Shaq being fat, playing defense back in his day, Magic Johnson in defense, like anyone who played for the Lakers. For us, Ronaldo, we got that before. So it's part and parcel of like being part of these great teams too. And you got to deal with the media attention and go win anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. And again, I think a breath of fresh air with Xabi Alonso, new system, new ideas, and potentially a new stacked roster, I think will really give this club new wind in their sails, right? Because again, as we close here, Sid, I do think that, and because you said this before, when they brought Carlo in 4 years ago now, right, to coach this last spell, I think he was supposed to be a transition coach, right? Like, because we were transitioning out of a certain era, and that's what they're like, okay, Carlo knows the club. he can deal with these veterans. Like, we're good, right? Like, and then he realized, oh, I got this awesome player in Jude. If I put him up closer to the front, like, we can do some stuff, right? And he won 2 Champions Leagues when, let's be honest, I don't think, even though it is our stated goal to win the Champions League every year, I don't think the club had that in their mind. They'd win 2 Champions Leagues in 4 years. I don't think that was not on the top.
Definitely
right?
not.
It just wasn't. And so it happened, and it was like, holy hell, like, this is incredible, right? Like, I think now with the moves are being made, because Xavi was always the guy. I mean, how long have we heard about him going to be the manager of Real Madrid? It's been since he was at Sociedad B, or since he was actually with us coaching Juvenil A, right? Like that, it's been talked about since then. So I think they were always preparing and waiting for this moment. And when this moment came, it would time with the Mbappe signing. We would get a bunch of other transfers over, young kids, and this is going to start the next era of Madrid dominance. It just so happened that in the transition, we won 2 Champions Leagues. Yay us.
Yeah, and we did it in order to be able to deal with the oil clubs. And in this transition, the oil clubs have won their titles. We've stopped them with Carlo, with some voodoo, barely. But thanks to Courtois, we got the goalie who can go do it. And so, honestly, in many ways, we've seen the exact reasons we've had to be stingy and say the squad is complete, because we need to actually be able to put a product together that can compete with the oil clubs consistently. In some ways, we're vindicated, Jarod. That's why we got to act broke all the time, you know? Like, and that's why that's what I was always saying. I'm like, listen, I get it, and we got to change gears, but I think like we might always act broke now, just because like we always have to like be guarded against like endless money, and that's where on this last note, someone said it. Raj Singh Chauhan said this on Twitter. I want to shout it out. It's a good idea. I think there needs to be spending limits. Like, this is just dumb. Like, they beat Arteta with double the wage bill, dude. Like, give Arteta one of the wingers. Give him one of the wingers. It's over. It's over. Arsenal win.
Which outspending a Premier League club is crazy. By double, that is wild.
It is ridiculous. So I'd say bring some spending limits in so that we can be more honest and like spend money, and we're not weird in the market. If you want a normal summer of Real Madrid rumors, you need to have wage limits. Otherwise, we're going to play cards close to the chest for 30 years. Like, it's only going to get more like this. If there's a new Mbappe we can get who plays for a city, we're going to play our cards. And like, let's say we win 5 Champions Leagues in the next 7 years and the era's over. Jude's old.
Old.
And there's a Kylian croissant Mbappe playing for Lille. We're gonna like play our cards close to our chest. We're gonna hold on to Jude at 35 and say the squad's complete. We're not buying another young midfielder like we did with Camavinga. Like, you know how long we waited to get Camavinga and Tchouaméni in behind Kroos and Modric. It's gonna be the same story. It's just funny. Everything is so full circle in life. Like 10 years ago, the talk about Ronaldo and defense. 5 years ago, getting on a pod, I was saying, hey, we're going to be careful because of the oil clubs. Nothing changes. The only thing that can change, though, is spending limits. If we get that in, it's a different sport. So
that'll help for sure. And I do think once we start generating more revenue from the stadium with the concerts and all that, and alleviating some of that, the tax, the bill that we owe on that from the loan we took out to do the revamps, and that'll help too. I think that's also a big part of this, is that the stadium bill is there. And I think for right now, it's not making enough to wash its face, right? Once the stadium is making concert revenue, I know the NFL's coming for a game at some point next season. Once those things happen more regularly and less of the club revenue has to go towards paying that loan back, I think we'll also see like, okay, again, we'll still be smart. I don't think we're going to overspend. We're going to be very much like, no, we're going to get that player when they're 15. We're going to wait till Saliba's on a free transfer, sell them on Madrid, right? As opposed to paying for those things. But we're going to do a little bit of that now because we had to build the foundation. And that's what we're going to do with, I think, obviously with Dean, with Carreras, I believe, and either Mastantuano or Abdallah, one of the two, if not both.
Yeah, I mean, once we get those Taylor Swift fans back
exactly,
we'll be good. Hopefully, they come out with like a new 3D printing AI that can come up with the concert audio problem solution real soon. Because if we got to go by old solutions, like damn, we probably need to go a few years without transfers to finish.
I know. To get who the hell did not think about sound when they did this? Like, what was that meeting like? Like, oh, let's not worry about sound, folks, as we redo this. Like,
Yeah, no, like I said, that's why I hope the AI evolves, 3D printing AI, like, because all the regular companies probably are like, hey, Flo, like it's gonna be 300 mil, and he's like, oh god damn it, just sitting there like I'm gonna have to think about this. He's like, Jose, like let's like put out some PR statement. We're gonna have to think about this. Like, damn it, I didn't want to have to deal with this before I retired. God damn it.
Tell Javi the squad is complete. We're not making any more signings. The signings are Alaba and Militao are coming back. Like,
you know, definitely calling friends in higher places, getting different loan setup. Let's put it that way.
Listen, that's a whole other podcast that we can get into. But folks, thank you as always for joining us on The Real Deal, a Real Madrid podcast. Of course, you can find us on YouTube here where you are watching live. Thank you for all of you who watched us live. We really appreciate it. Of course, you can find at Real Deal Pods on Twitter, Instagram, all those places. You can find Sid and I there as well. Please, if you like what you're hearing, do us a favor, guys. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, even if they're not Madrid fans, like share with them. Like I think we have a very good perspective on football overall and how we see things developing. So I think it really help us, of course, help us in the algorithm. So we appreciate that. And look, as I said, at least twice a week, you're going to get new pieces of content from us, right? A LeConte live and at least one episode of Sid and I doing something. As things continue to heat up, you'll likely get more than that. But come on, there isn't a whole lot of content out there like this that we're providing with the aesthetic that we're providing. Shout out to Sid and his muse, Christopher Nolan, for inspiring him to make this wonderful aesthetic for us to see out here. But please, folks, make sure you like, subscribe, share. Give us feedback too. We love it. And we will see you next time. Take care.